Thank you for staying with us. Now, the Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, is expected to appear before the Senate Committee on Special Duties to explain why the sum of 206 billion naira was inserted in the 2023 budget for the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. The committee issued the summons when the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadiya Farouq, defended her ministry's 2023 budget proposal. During the interaction, the humanitarian minister could not furnish the committee with the exact details of what the sum of 206 billion naira in her budget is intended for. She explained that the fund is 10 times the amount requested for projects for the Northeast Development Commission and National Social Safety Net in its 2022 budget, which was not released.
2022, which was not released, and we said part of it is for the NAPS budget and part for the NDC. The money was not released, and now we have seen it occurring by almost tenfold, and we're going to also clarify from the Federal Ministry of Finance to know why this increase, despite the fact that the previous year the money was not even released for the project. So
we cannot continue to borrow money and plunge this country into debt for our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren to come and pay without investing in what they will see. Chairman, I want to move a motion that the Minister of Finance should appear before this committee to furnish this committee with the full details of what they intend to do, 206 billion naira in 2023 budget.
We will ask Minister of Finance, to come and give us, proper information of their bilateral, engagement. The increase and the non-release, in 2022. Probably will fix a date, where we may invite her and then you as well, if there's a need to do that at a later date. So I think our class take note of that, we speak the information and then we inform the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs.
Well, joining us now is a lawyer, public affairs analyst, Ahmed Abbas. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
I'm sure you are laughing and reacting to that statement there. Before you react, on Thursday, the defense minister also told the Senate that the finance minister also inserted a total of 11 billion naira into his 2023 budget, and also the Minister of Health also accused her of budget padding. What's going on? What do you think is going on?
I think we are not just a serious nation, because the issue of budget padding is actually not new. Even right from the time of President Olusegun Obasanjo, the issue of padding of budgets has been an ongoing subject matter. For me, I think we actually not addressing it, because if you see a problem reoccurring day in, day out, it simply means no one is being penalized, there's no sanction, and we'll keep experiencing it every day by day. That's why I started by saying, for me, I do not think we're a serious nation at all.
From the finance ministry specifically, it's worrying and concerning.
Yes. I mean, it's, like I said, it's perplexing and painful that Nigeria, for me, is like an extractive vehicle. People come in there, use it to siphon money, extract whatever you can extract, and when it's your turn, you leave, and life goes on. Life goes on.
Well, a budget, the budget of the country is usually the president or the chief executive is the one who goes to say this is the budget for all of the ministries and executing and implementing policies of government. So one would say that whatever budget for each of the ministries would have been vetted by the president. It's assumed it would have been vetted by the president. And in a situation where we're having discordant tunes this way, the ministers, colleagues who are supposed to understand each other, as to, okay, this is my ministry, this is how much budget I have, this is my ministry.
Have conversations.
You know, what do you see around that camaraderie, that conversation, that everyone, that cohesion that government is supposed to have going forward with one agenda?
It simply tells you that even the budget of Nigeria itself is a criminal document. Because yes, it's a criminal document. It's simply to tell you that the ministers themselves are not in charge of those budgets. These are educated people. For you to be called to defend a budget of your ministry, it means you must have done your homework very well. You know what you are going to spend and for what purpose. So I do not expect any intelligent, competent minister to go before the House committee to be stammering. It simply means that budget does not belong to her. It was cooked up and doctored and presented on their behalf. So I can say categorically there is a cabal within the presidency that organizes these budgets. Most times, these ministers are not in charge of their ministry. That's why most times when they are called, they are caught off guard by what they are supposed to be. They are supposed to own the document and speak to the document even without looking at the document. You must have done your rehearsal very well with your various departments. But for you to be caught pants down, it simply means those budgets did not emanate from those ministers. That's why I call those budgets criminal documents. I say it without any apology. That is the reality of
what are the implications of moves like this? Because like you pointed out, she's saying she does not know. I mean, coming as a surprise to her that monies were added or included into her budget is mind-boggling. But then what are the implications?
What in Nigeria, there is no implication. Nothing will come out of it. Is this the first time? This is not the first time. Nothing will come out of it. We must get to a point we tell ourselves the truth that we are joking with governance. In civilized climate, most of these public officers, majority of them will be spending long time in jail. But Nigeria is a country where anything goes, anything happens, and we move on as if nothing is happening. And that's why the international community will never take us serious. They've never taken us serious and will never take us serious because you don't have serious people in governance.
Do you see this as just administrative incompetence, or you see this as just pure corruption?
It's a structured, well-lubricated, corrupt machinery. It is not an accident. And like I said, it's a culture. It's a culture. It's not mistake at all. It's a culture. It's a standing system. It's an entrenched system. There are people behind it. Most times you look at your budget. They will tell you the budget 20 billion naira for furniture in Aso Rock Clinic. Then the following year you look at your budget, you see the same amount of money being budgeted for furniture. You want to ask yourself whether within the 12-month period, those furnitures have become obsolete or...
No, they were consumed.
Thank you. They're consumables. Do you understand me? So you see things that have been repeated year in, year out. Roads that were told were constructed last year. You see them in the Ministry of Works repeating the same thing. And that's why, for me as a Nigerian, born, bred in this country, I don't take. They are not serious.
But we can't continue like this because even our budget is running at a deficit as it stands.
Yeah, you see, if you are expecting anything, you see, when a system, even the body system, when the immune system is down, you need an introduction of a foreign substance to boost the immunity.
Yeah.
The honest truth remains that if you are expecting anything to change with these people in the corridors of power, it will not change. It will not change. It will not change because.
But we cannot continue.
That's why I'm giving you that analogy. That if you think this, because the immune system is down, it will take the infusion of people with a different value system. That's the honest truth. The immune system is down. Of governmental structure is down. They don't have the capacity to give us anything new. I'm born and bred in this country. There's nothing new. Chukwuma Kaduna Nziogo in 1966, go and read his speech that they delivered as to why they were intervening in the politics of Nigeria. If you read that speech and compare whether what they said then, there has been any change. There's no change. There's no change. Hinging your hope on these people in the corridors of power is like somebody putting an empty pot on the fire and telling you, a hungry man, that relax, food will soon be ready.
But how do we begin to change this now? Because it seems from what I'm getting from the message you're taking across is that from the recruiters of those who should make that change in the corridors of power, it has to be Nigerians themselves.
Absolutely.
How do we begin to get them to see these realities? Because the point there is, this is just one incident. Of course, there are other ones that you mentioned earlier. This is just one. And we're talking about the 206 billion. Now, if you inject 260 billion in any project in this country,
We just spoke to Rhoda.
Exactly.
Who was talking about the cost.
of course, the point there is whether it is bridges, or it is housing schemes, or education, or it is health, we're going to see a lot. In fact, even power itself, if you genuinely invest 206 billion naira in that,
a turnaround.
it will give you something tangible. So how do we begin to see, talk to Nigerians, to begin to see it from this perspective as to, if we keep this thing this way,
Bringing in the same kind of
we are
message.
the worst losers of this.
You see, it's like playing a football match. And most times, you have some footballers on the reserve bench. Once a coach realizes that, look, the game has been static, he introduces sometimes people from the reserve bench, having studied the game, and send them with just one objective: create scoring chances, disrupt the camp of the opponent. We have gotten to a situation where we must look at each other eyeball to eyeball and tell you, for me as a person, I do not have any confidence in the ability of these people in the corridors of power to orchestrate the change that we are aspiring for. Like, we have no business with poverty. We have no business with ASU being on strike for 8-9 months. When we we have money. Money is not the problem. But the problem is that those in the corridors of power have hijacked political offices for one singular purpose: siphoning public treasury. If we have those monies that are being stolen, you were here when your accountant general were told one single individual went away with over 100 billion naira over some period of time. So that is what, I mean, the ones that are discovered, what of thousands in the corridors of power, whether at the federal level, state level, local government level, that were never discovered. The problem with Nigeria is not about money or resources. It's about prudent management of what we have and being able to checkmate those who see offices, public offices, as an avenue for stealing our commonwealth.
This begs the question of our fight against corruption that this government talked about championing. And we also went ahead to have the Treasury single account to also address those issues. What really is going on?
As a student of Nigerian history, corruption, the fight against corruption, or the corruption level in the history of this country is worse under this administration. I'm not a politician, so I'm saying it categorically. It's worse under this regime, worse under this administration. It may not be, some might not like it, but we have to tell us we are all critical stakeholders. Because when this government was even coming, they came with 3 agendas: to fight insecurity,
The economy?
the economy, and to fight
tackle
corruption to it. In fact, his credential, the credential of the president, I can tell you categorically, one of the reasons why people actually voted for the president was because they saw him as an anti-corruption sir. You know, that he was coming to fight corruption to a total standstill. And we all agree. that one of the major problems retarding our progress as a nation is corruption. Every nation has a signature. Once you mention the name of some countries, there are pictures that engraft itself to your mind. If you mention Dubai, of course, a beautiful country, a tourist country. But when you mention the name Nigeria, the first adjective that comes to your mind is corruption. We all agree, corruption is our major problem. And until we see corruption being fought from all angles, then we'll begin to take our nation serious that we're actually going somewhere. Because until we tackle corruption, we are not going anywhere.
In fighting corruption, the DG of World Trade Organization, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, wrote a book titled Fighting Corruption is Dangerous. And reading that book, it tells you that the network, the syndicate of corruption, is challenging for one person, even the president, whoever the commander-in-chief is, to say, okay, I want to totally fight corruption and then gain the benefits of it within a tenure of his administration. But let's come to the issue of restructuring. Some people have said the challenge with Nigeria is restructuring, or even the way the constitution is. And they say that the moment we have a restructuring or constitutional amendment and all of that, some of these things will be taken care of. I wonder what you say to that.
See, there is absolutely nothing wrong with even what we have on ground. My own belief has always been that the greatest challenge we have in Nigeria is that we put round pegs in square holes. That's the challenge that we have. Until we look for men and women who are passionate about certain subject matter and allow them, because you see, institutions are built by people of strong ethical values. Nuhu Ribadu came, he was given the EFCC chair to preside over, and he was doing a thorough job. Immediately, another regime came who had sympathy for corruption. They brought in men and women that have tainted CV, corruption-wise, and they went after Ribadu. He was almost assassinated. Because the government that came after Obasanjo did not allow Ribadu to do his job. You know what they did? They saw him as an enemy, and they posted him out of EFCC without allowing him to complete his tenure. When you have that kind of situation, what plays out is that when people come to the corridors, to positions, rather than doing what those institutions were meant to do, they play safe. Because they will tell you, say, oh boy, take it easy, so that they won't kill you. He was almost assassinated. Meanwhile, what you ought to have done for a nation that is serious is to allow that man that is so passionate about that subject matter to run his tenure, and if need be, give him another opportunity to do his second term. By the time he's going 8 years, he would have infused a very strong culture in that institution. And when he's leaving, a serious government will ask him, you've done a very wonderful job. Can you suggest 2 or 3 of your subordinates that has imbibed this kind of culture so that we can make him take over from where you take over? Look, Akunyili, you've been hearing of NDLE, NAFDAC in Nigeria before Akunyili came. The spirit of Akunyili was what took over NAFDAC and gave life to it because she was a strong woman. Institutions are built by very passionate people, passionate about the objective of that institution. And so what you do is that you look for people that are passionate, allow them to run it. When they are going, allow them to nominate or suggest. After running an organization for about 8 years, you will know subordinates that embody what you embody.
Yes.
And you give them the opportunity to. And when that institution has been able to run in that manner for a continuous period of about 10, 15, 20 years, the institution will be so cultured, will be so formidable that it can render anybody it wants to, it can checkmate anybody that it needs to checkmate. they won't be afraid. The staffs will do their job very well, knowing fully well that they will not be insured. But a situation where constantly there is political intervention. Let me tell you this. Ask any police officer. They know what to do. But most times, there is too much political interference in our institutions. They all know what to do. If you give them the free hand, they will do a thorough job. But most times, we interfere. And it's also corruption. When you see an institution working efficiently, simply because you have a friend that is going to be caught by the activity of that institution, then you say order from above. You will see people investigating assassination and all the rest of them, they will tell you order from above. You see police officers trying to do their job, they will say order from above. Because they are all part of corruption is not just about stealing money. It's about interfering with the processes of an institution, not allowing an institution to perform its function, pursue its objective, interfering with the CEOs. When you do that, you are weakening the fabric of the society.
So as it stands, do we still have such people that you mentioned?
Very many, very many of them. Very many. The issue about Nigeria is not, well, that's why most times you see Nigerians, when they jackpot or they do whatever, they go there, and those nations appreciate their gift and their talent, their passion, give them opportunity, and you see them flying. We have too many of them in Nigeria here. If you give them what's wrong with Nigeria? Absolutely nothing. You simply need, look at the former Emir of Kano. Sometimes when he speaks, he said, if the president, Buhari can be the president of Nigeria, with his qualification, he's qualified. And why should he be afraid in speaking and telling them what they need to do? So when you have such a man, when he was governor of CBN, he spoke the truth, but of course, the political elites didn't like him. So we have such people in uncountable numbers. And when God gives them the opportunity, they will perform wonders. I believe so much in Nigeria that one day we'll emerge out of this mediocratic, governance structure.
All right. We all have that hope and belief, and we know that one day that would happen. But we must thank you, lawyer, public affairs analyst Ahmed Abbas, for your time on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And